Have you ever thought, what happens when you suddenly got superpowers? It happens with our protagonist, Cassie. She must protect three young women from a mysterious adversary who wants them dead. The film opens with a woman named Constance and a man named Ezekiel Sims taking pictures of spider webs in a wilderness for documentation. They were looking for spiders, but they were unable to locate any. Ezekiel mentioned the rare species of spiders that the ancient Uranians thought could grant people special abilities. According to Constance, these were legendary spider people who used their black poison to punish evil men. However, Constance also expressed her preference for science over legend, believing that these tiny spiders could heal hundreds of diseases. Constance felt an intense discomfort in her abdomen as she was talking, which she attributed to the kid she was carrying. Despite this, she didn't stop thinking that she was getting close to her goal. When Ezekiel talked to Constance, she insisted there was no time for a break and thanked him for the umbrella. When Ezekiel returned to their shelter to look for more information, Constance suddenly showed him a jar with small spiders inside. Constance was perplexed and asked why he had killed their friends. Ezekiel explained that he had been looking for those spiders for years. She replied that it could benefit a lot of people, but Ezekiel had no interest in helping others due to no one had helped him or his family. Despite Constance's reluctance to give the jar containing the spiders, Ezekiel insisted on taking it, shot Constance, and ran away. However, just in time, Antranian came to Constance's aid. They brought her to their home, where a man by the name of Santiago helped her give birth to her baby. Santiago took the lead in supporting Constance and helped with the childbirth. He told her that although the kid of Constance will have difficulties in the future, the child would persevere and come back. A few years later, after Santiago reassured her again that he would be there for her, his child had grown and was now known as Cassie Webb. Before Cassie met Maddie Franklin, she was a paramedic whose narrative started in an ambulance with her partner and co-worker Ben Parker. They were taking a woman to the hospital for emergency care. While Maddie was skateboarding to school, she abruptly emerged in front of the ambulance. The doctor told Cassie and Ben that the patient they brought to the hospital would be alright. The patient was a small boy, the child of the woman they helped, and the doctor gave them a piece of paper as a thank you for Cassie and Ben's assistance to his mother. Ben rejected Cassie's suggestion to give it to him in the same hospital. During lunch, Julia Cornwall, the woman Cassie and Ben helped, was also there to see how her mother was doing. Ben and Cassie didn't like talking about family, so they were still debating where to put the card the youngster gave her. Ben mentioned he was thinking about starting a family and getting a dog, as well as hinted at being in a serious relationship. Cassie joked about the woman being lucky, and Ben showed her a fortune cookie message that said he had winning personalities. They laughed about Cassie's fortune, saying she had no future, and joked about the broken printer where they got the cookies. When Cassie got home, she met Anna talking to a man and then gave milk to her cat. She thought about putting a child's card in her cabinet alongside family memories, and considered reading her mother's journals about spiders to delve deeper into her mother's past. The following day, they saved a man who had an accident on the bridge, with his car on the verge of falling. Cassie and Ben rescued him, but Cassie ended up trapped in the sinking car. She woke up underwater, disoriented, and with visions of webs and the letter S. After being saved and revived by Ben in the ambulance, Cassie had a strange experience where she could anticipate what Ben was going to say. This puzzled them both, especially as Cassie's vital signs seemed normal despite her visions. She assured Ben that she was okay and just wanted to go home. Separately, Ezekiel visited a lavish palace where orchestras played, offering a magazine to a lady before a private encounter where something happened between them. Later, he had a disconcerting dream where three women with spider-like faces foretold his demise by pushing him out of a window. This recurring vision troubled him so much that he discussed it with a nearby woman, fearing it was a curse. His friend mentioned the inevitability of death, prompting Ezekiel to express his determination to find the women seeking him first, despite the long search by the National Security Agency. Upon encountering one of the agency's women, Ezekiel managed to thwart her arrest attempt, obtained information, and fatally wounded her, taking her ID. Cassie attended Ben's sister-in-law's gender reveal party where she conversed briefly with Ben and his friend before participating in baby name guesses with other guests. A strange moment occurred when Mary asked Cassie for a second guess, leading Cassie to reveal her feeling of déjà vu. Later, when a fire broke out, Cassie, sensing the future, offered to drive but was declined by her companion. As events unfolded before her eyes, Cassie sadly watched as her companion's vehicle collided, as she had foreseen. A man tragically lost his life as his colleague, Amaria, discussed locating the women who intended to harm him. Amaria shared possible images matching Ezekiel's description of the women, who were currently teenagers but would eventually acquire powers to carry out their plan. Ezekiel directed Amaria to find the specific woman, promising a reward for her efforts. Meanwhile, Cassie underwent an eye checkup showing normal results, but she mentioned her visions to the doctor. The doctor suggested that trauma could be a factor, which Cassie doubted after witnessing her friend's death. TV shows and rest were recommended to Cassie, who followed the advice and watched movies while being regularly checked on by Ben. Despite Cassie's lack of response, Ben expressed concern, as she experienced visions of future events once again. On the other side, Amaria tracked Cassie and Julia out alone while communicating with Ezekiel. As Cassie got on a train, she realized that Ezekiel was going to come looking for them with the intention of hurting Maddie, Julia, and Anna. Cassie alerted them to the danger and advised them to run as soon as they boarded the train. They fled as they noticed Ezekiel slithering in their direction. Cassie fled after perceiving Ezekiel as a sinister Spider-Man. Cassie was taken into custody by the police, but it was later discovered that she was the teen abductor. Only they discovered that Ezekiel was chasing them while crawling on the ceiling. Cassie said that it was not a kidnapping and came up with a strategy to find them. While he was still looking for them, Ezekiel gave Amaria instructions to outwit the cops in the jungle. Maddie was confused with Cassie, a paramedic who rescued Julia and her stepmother. Although she could see into the future, she was powerless over it. Maddie lost control and hurled something at Cassie. Cassie pledged to come back for safety and said she would in 3 hours. She learned that Iranians have the ability to foretell the future by reading her mother's chronicle about the lost Araranas. They decided to head to the closest cafe, where a man recognized them. Amaria Ezekiel, a guy, departed upon Cassie's arrival. They were discovered with males, dancing on a table. When Ezekiel moved to step in, he struck Julia, giving her the impression that she had been stabbed. Ezekiel pursued Cassie, Julia, Maddie, and Anna while they were dancing at a table. After Cassie saved them, an enraged Ezekiel drove off. Cassie requested that they apologize, and Julia apologized. They are still being sought after by Ezekiel, and Amaria brought up Cassie's identity with the last name of Webb. They started by looking for lodging. Julia, Maddie, and Anna are unsure if their father wants her to return to the restaurant where they were last chased by Ezekiel. Julia asks for Cassie's help, and the next morning, she returns to the restaurant where they were last chased by Ezekiel. There, she witnesses Ezekiel talking to her future self, who reveals that in the future, the 3 girls would kill him and inherit his powers. Cassie wakes up realizing it was a dream and teaches the girls CPR. Santiago arrives and tells Cassie that he promised her mother that he would be there for her. Santiago reveals that Cassie's mother went to the forest where her mother used to search for spiders, believing she was protected. Santiago then takes Cassie to the place where her mother died and was born, where she was betrayed. Cassie realizes that she misunderstood her mother's concern for her, and Santiago explains that sometimes sacrifices need to be made for the people we love. Santiago reveals that once Cassie mastered her power, she could be in multiple places simultaneously, becoming the only one capable of changing the future. With great responsibility, great power would come to Cassie. As she and the 3 women hurried away, Cassie instructed Anu to use an automated external defibrillator AED on the ambulance's ceiling to shock Ezekiel, ultimately saving the group. The ambulance then broke down, prompting Cassie to quickly come up with a new plan. Despite being injured by Ezekiel, she used her powers to protect Maddie, Anna, and Julia. Ultimately, in a final showdown with Ezekiel, Cassie outwitted him, leading to his demise. Julia rescued Cassie from the sea and revived her with CPR. As Mary gave birth and Cassie recovered in the hospital, she assured Julia that she had everything she needed back at her place. Gradually, Cassie's visions improved, allowing her to see glimpses of the future, including Anna standing up for her beliefs. The movie concludes with the impact of Cassie's insights on those around her, emphasizing the power of her words.